Special guest during the second segment, no stranger to this broadcast, and of course, Newspin as well, Dr. Sharon Belmar George, Senior Medical Officer for Health in the Ministry of Health. That is during the second segment of the program. But I'm sure you've been monitoring the coverage of the Amber Geiger trial. Find it very riveting, and I'm sure that you feel the same as well. There were ebbs and flows. You were anticipating first that should be convicted of murder yesterday, and that was the case. Many people in St. Lucia, and indeed the black community in the United States, or population in the United States, would have welcomed that verdict, would have showered praise on the 12-member jury. Well, today it was the day of reckoning for her, because her fate was in the hands of the jurors as far as determining the kind of sentence that would be imposed on her. Whether it was 5 years, from 5 years ranging to 99 years, and that would be life imprisonment. And many people, including the pundits, were expecting, based on the evidence, based on the text messages, the history and so on, some of the messages came across as if she was a racist. People were anticipating that definitely she would have been given a very stiff sentence. Well, that was not the case, and the judge, just before 6 o'clock this evening, Eastern Caribbean time, she read the sentence, and let us take in that moment.
The verdict, I will now announce it. We, the jury, find unanimously that the defendant did not cause the death of Botham Jean while under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, and assess the defendant's punishment at 10 years imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. In addition, we assess a fine of $0, and it's signed by the presiding juror. Would you like to have the jury poll?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any legal reason why this sentence should not now be imposed?
Not at all.
It is therefore the order, judgment, and decree of the court that you be taken by the Sheriff of Dallas County and safely transported by her to an agent or representative of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and there you shall be confined until your sentence is discharged.
Breaking news in Texas, Dallas jury just sentenced a white former policewoman to 10 years in prison for the murder of her black neighbor. She could have received life in prison. CNN's Ed Lavandera is there for us. Ed, the sentence is sure to be controversial.
Well, it was quite a sentence. It was also quite a verdict in this case, as Amber Geiger, the former Dallas police officer, was convicted of murder yesterday. Here in just about an hour's time, the jury sentenced Amber Geiger said, "I can't explain that," and Botham Jean's father told the prosecutor, "It's okay, you fought the good fight." Outside, protesters angry about the light sentence in their view.
Where's her justice? Amber Geiger gets a chance to get freedom after 10 years. And my son and Botham and other sons are dead forever. We did not get justice, and this is not fair. How many of us is it going to take? There shouldn't be another mother after us. There just shouldn't be another mother.
And Wolf, it is highly emotional on the 7th floor of this courthouse here in Dallas. After everything had settled down in the courtroom, Botham Jean's brother asked if he could approach Amber Geiger, and Botham Jean's brother hugged the former police officer right there in the courtroom. The judge in the case also went over and hugged Botham Jean's family, as well as the former Dallas police officer as well.
This certainly can make for a thrilling movie. I could imagine that people are all lined up now with the scripts, and directors and actors and actresses and so on, all really and truly giving serious thought to ensuring that this is transformed into a movie because it is so riveting. One readily can understand why some people would be disappointed, because there was a build-up that is just before the announcement of the sentence. People were anticipating, and it was said widely that you're expecting that the sentence would range between 5 years and 99 years. So the 10-year sentence imposed on her would certainly have come as a shock to many people. But this is a case where the jury would have made that determination on the basis of several things. They would have taken several things into consideration. And it's always very interesting a few months, a few years later, when the jurors are interviewed and they give you a real sense of why they took a particular course of action. Alison Jean, that's the mother of Botham Jean, told reporters outside the courtroom that the 10 years will give Amber Geiger time to reflect and change her life. We'll be hearing from you in just a moment. But the magical moment, and that is when the brother of Botham Jean, Brant Jean, he first of all said that he does not have any ill feeling towards Amber Geiger, and he requested a hug. I was watching this live and I was saying, what exactly will happen? Anything at all can happen. Let's take in that clip.
As a person, I don't wish anything bad on you. I don't know if this is possible, but can I give her a hug, please? Please?
Yes.
Certainly a remarkable scene there. We'll put the telephone number on screen so that you can call right now with your comments, your take, of course, on this particular outcome and what you just saw, that magical, unending hug, featuring Brant Jean, the brother of Botham Jean, and the individual who killed his brother on September the 6th of 2018. Here's hoping that that is a lesson for all of us. We should not hate anyone to the extent that we cannot forgive. We cannot say that we harbor no ill feeling towards you and we want to have a hug. There are so many things in St. Lucia right now, just to be parochial, that divide us. Topping that list, of course, will be political developments in St. Lucia. The fact that many of us, we support either the red party or the yellow party, and in the process, we hate each other. And we hate each other for a number of other things. There are various squabbles and skirmishes taking place among family members for property, for land, and we just cannot ensure that we live in peace. We have a call. Good afternoon to you. Oh, good evening. This is not NewsPaid, it's NewsMaker.
Hello.
Good evening
Good
to
night.
you. Hi. Good evening to you, caller.
Yes, Tim.
Good evening.
I really want to salute the young man who went out to hug the young lady. It shows us that, we can forgive persons despite the fact that we may be grieving, despite what they would have done to us. that we can still find it in our hearts to forgive them and to love everybody. And I really want to salute this young man tonight. I think that should be an example to all black people and all human race. You know, that you should not have this notion that, you know, because someone has done something bad, that they ought not to live again. I mean, there are occasions where you believe that the right punishment would be for that person not to see the light of day. But, you know, see in that situation, someone lost their life, and the brother can come out and show that kind of sympathy, you know, even towards the person who took the brother's life. You know, I think that is wonderful.
Thank you so much for calling, sir.
Good night.
And we are also on Facebook, so we'd like to say hi to you following the broadcast on Facebook as well as via your television sets. You're watching on the phone as well. Good
Hello?
evening. This is NewsMakerLive. You're on the air. Hello.
Good evening, Timothy. How are you?
I'm okay, ma'am. Good evening.
Hello?
to you. Hi, you're on the air. Go ahead, please. Hi, good
Yes,
evening to you.
Timothy. It's just watching this young man. It was like, you know, it was just so. It just changed my mind, changed my thinking about everything. The young people are teaching us as adults to forgive, because sometimes somebody may do us something and we want to hold it in our hearts for years. And, you know, when you're a very unforgiving person, you can get all kind of ailments. And I literally wept when I saw what this young man did. It was just God. It was just the love of Christ that permeated through this young man's heart to extend forgiveness. And it even has caused me to look at myself differently, to take introspection of my own life. Because to lose your brother in such circumstances and to be so poised, he's grieving, yes, he's hurting, but to be so poised and to be so graceful and to extend peace and love to this young woman. I too feel for her because she's a young woman. And, you know, Timothy, we in St. Lucia, let both legacy live on. Let us be loving, let us be caring, because I think not only me, but a lot of people are taking introspection of their lives and to live their lives better. And let's not hate each other, but love each other. And Timothy, I'm talking to you, I'm getting goosebumps, I'm all emotional. I think I'm going to be emotional for a long while because I myself have sons. You know, Timothy, I don't know what to say again, but God bless him to this young man, to the Shaw family, and I ask God to give them the strength to continue. Timothy, have a good night.
You too. Thank you so much. You know, just when we thought that Botham Jean was a remarkable individual, because all what we've heard about him is that he's exceptional, he's a gifted person, and so on. He stood out in many ways. Up comes his brother, Brand Jean.
And he's remarkable.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you will.
Once again, you are watching NewsMaker Live right here on DBS television. Continue to reflect on the outcome of that trial, Amber Geiger trial, and this seminal moment, this long, forgiving hug that we are watching right now. Good evening. NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Good night.
Hi, good evening to you, ma'am.
Good night. Mr. Tumafi.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, madam, they can think towards madam, no? Wakumo ti misi afesa. Moi la ele exafa malapen tellement. Moi tourner viwe madame they can think towards madam là. Pour moi même nga di loi pas vrai madame la jol. Free. Yeah, pour moi même ça mon kawe. Ouais pour because quand on color d'Italie, ça c'est pour nous qui pas forgive mon. Et ça forgiveness because nous pas ça l'autre ça fait. Because madame a bien sorry ça fait. Moi ni ça hurt moi la moi ça. C'était moi a dit oui tu vas la femme la finish mais a dit just free madam là.
Oui.
Yes, that's my.
Okay, thank you so much for calling. You know, we can, to a large extent, as a people, we can determine whether there is peace in this world or whether there's chaos or whether there is war based on our utterances, based on the things that we say, our rhetoric. Good evening, you're on the air.
I just lady family the sacrifice. I just did
Okay, merci beaucoup. NewsMaker Live, where we continue to take your calls, and we'll be, during that segment, we'll be going on until about 9 o'clock, and during the second segment, we'll be focusing on another development, that is the USNS Comfort and the health mission that they undertook recently. Let's try to see if we have another call on line, do we?
Well, yeah.
Turn on the volume of your television set, please. Hello?
Oh, my God.
That's Rick Wayne who's doing that, the host of Talk.
Embarrass me again, too.
Yes, Rick.
What do we know about this young man? I know he's 18 years old. Has he been growing up here and living here?
I think he went to the Leon Hess School.
How long has he been living here?
He's been living in Leas.
So
he's 18 years old, so he would have graduated just about a year or two ago.
He graduated here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was wondering about, what makes this guy so different. Because, I mean, if this is obviously the picture of the year, this is the family of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And we all talked about how the mother handled this whole thing with absolute dignity, although she was quite the activist. And there was a lot going on there. And so this kid, and this kid didn't do it on his own. There had to be some kind of family talk before he would do that. I would imagine that. I don't think he would.
Well, I will not imagine that, Rick.
You think he did it on his own?
You like to tell me don't imagine, right? So I'm telling you.
No, I use the word.
I think it could be something very spontaneous.
No, neither of us knows. That's why I'm asking questions about him.
Yeah.
What I am suggesting is keeping in mind the image we have of the family.
Mm-hmm.
That I can just see him having a family talk and saying this is how he feels about it, etc.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something else, Tim. Out of all of this, I followed it. Did you form an impression as to what really happened there? I mean, the whole murder. Did you form an impression on that?
Not anything in particular. I saw a police officer was inexperienced. I realized that police officers are just too quick to pull their firearm and to kill somebody, whether their life is in danger or not.
But we can only speculate, right? I mean, the other murders we know very well. Somebody's in the street, somebody got shot, the police tell it. And this thing that you take whatever way you want. You can judge her because of other police officers in the States are black, and so on. But you don't come up with a fixed idea of what really went down. You can take whatever way you want, right?
Yeah.
But that never really came out. And that lady,
the killer. She was remorseful from day one, despite the errors and incongruencies and so on. She's up there. She's been remorseful from the first minute. No,
but
so
I don't think she would have gotten the support of many people, particularly in St. Lucia, based on what I read on social media. People were not believing that she was that
That's right,
sincere.
Tim. That's why I take this line of questioning as to, because it's obvious this is Halley's Comet.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that anywhere in the world, and for it to involve a St. Lucian, that says a lot for us. But what it says a hell of a lot for is the family of Botham Jean, because you can't have two people like that. But on the other hand, all the people who spoke in favor about the police officer, I was fascinated that both sides were basically saying the same thing about the two people, the victim and what. That struck me. It's very, very strong. So that, I couldn't make up my mind. Is this a bad woman? Is this a woman who had a bad moment? Because things can happen. I'm not going to go into this now, but I know at a certain point where certain things happened to me, and I blanked out totally about myself, Tim.
Yeah.
And that's a story I'm going to say for my own show. So psychology is a hell of a thing. All I got from this was I'm absolutely confused as to what could have happened there. It is understandable for me that the woman found herself really not knowing what the hell. Everything she did, including leaving the body there and whatnot, it's like somebody who lost it.
Yeah.
Okay. And from that moment on, she's been remorseful. So that is a lesson for all of us. I don't think I'm not optimistic enough to think that it's going to last more than 3 weeks. I'm not up, but the family of Botham Jean deserve to be, the model of the year family. Thank you.
And also just watching Amber Geiger's mom early on. I don't know if you watched it.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. I watched the whole thing.
Frail, 66 years old. Showing the photographs of her family, her children, her 3 children.
And none of them tried to say, she was okay doing it,
Yeah.
No, but the Facebook venom, oh my God, especially from our people, Tim. And I still, you see all that there? Tomorrow, I'll be listening to Newspin as usual. And we'll be back to the norm, Tim.
I think this is so much of a seminal moment. I think it will have a long-lasting impact.
Well, you're always that kind of guy, and nothing wrong with that.
No. There comes a moment where, for example, you ask yourself, where were you when this particular incident happened? And how did it impact your life? I'm sure in St. Lucia it will impact the lives of dozens of people. If it will obviously not the entire population, not everyone, but some people will be impacted in a positive way.
Cynical me, all I will say is I'm happy for people like you who think like that. That is optimism. There's nothing wrong with that. But reality hits me in the face, and I think of little Trisha Dennis, a little child of 8 years old, raped and whatever it is. I think of Jesus, and we don't care. I had a woman on my show last week. She couldn't even talk about her grief, and we didn't care. In all the stuff that was going on there, this case and all the calls you got, nobody talked about the people who have lost their kids with no kind of answer, or not even a hope of an answer. You know, see what I'm saying? So I hope that this thing has some impact, but the evidence suggests to me this is going to last, sadly, 3 weeks. But for people like you who are optimistic, Jim, I appreciate that. It's good to have a little optimism. Thanks a lot,
Okay, Rick. Thank you so much for calling. We'll take at least 3 more calls on this particular subject. There are some things that happen in our lives that will have a lasting impact. Particularly, I think this will have a tremendous positive impact on the young population. Good evening to you. This is NewsMaker Live. Okay, we lose that caller. But please, when you're calling, turn down the volume of your television set as we say a very good evening and hello to you following the broadcast on Facebook as well. Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, sir.
Hi, good evening, Tim. Watching the appreciated the way the whole thing went through. Both of them, and even the father, when the father spoke, I mean, everybody was moved by what he said and the testimony he gave, the testimony his friends gave. I mean, it was very touching. The defendant's mother, I felt very sorry for her at that age to having been faced with such, thing. However, I mean, the law has no strings and often she had to appear in court. At the end of the day, I really admire the young man, the way he hugged the defendant and forgave her, because he said at the end of the day, I mean, it happened, yeah, but you can't go along carrying hate. When you carry hatred, it's only quite relieved. He must have felt a weight come off his shoulder and off his chest, having forgiven this young woman. And I just think that's something many people should emulate. And at the end of the day, it's the way how when you die, people think about you, the way you treated them and how you lived and things like that sort. So I think that was a good gesture.
But imagine if this youngster was preaching violence earlier today. Can you imagine what the response, what the reaction would have been in Dallas, in St. Lucia, in other parts of the United States?
I think that's a good
people
example.
Would have taken their cue from him.
Yes. I think a lot of people will learn from that. And not only that, I think that's a good example the family has set. And, of course, it's a good thing for St. Lucia as well, the way people look at St. Lucia. I think that's a good thing as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So people take their cue from us. People take their cue from politicians. We take our cue from each other. We have a final call. Good evening to you. This is NewsMakerLive. You're on the air.
Yes, Tim. Good evening.
Good evening to you, sir.
Tim, that hug there, that hug goes $10 million, that hug there. And the other thing, when the Bible tells you, when a man slap you on one cheek, turn the other cheek, that's exactly what it means there. I don't have much when I can't stay long. That's all. Goodbye.
I appreciate it, sir. And we will leave you again with that hug. And it started with
I don't know if this is possible, but can I give her a hug, please? Please?
Yes.
Ranger and focused on the island's health problems.
Arrived in St. Lucia on September 23rd as part of a 6-month mission to provide free medical services to the Caribbean and Latin America. During his address at the closing ceremony, Prime Minister Alan Chastanet expounded on the importance of the Comfort's visit to St. Lucia. St. Lucia, he said, is a small island developing state with limitations in relation to health services, with 2 public hospitals, 1 private hospital, 45 community wellness centers, 1 polyclinic, and a range of private healthcare services. Despite that, the emotional Prime Minister stated that many people can't afford secondary healthcare services.
We saw over the last couple of days the impact that has haunted many of the government in trying to solve. And it is the greatest humanitarian injustice when the technology that we have available today, which is so ably displayed by the USNS Comfort, when people are denied that opportunity.
The United States ambassador to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean spoke about the importance of the Comfort's mission in St. Lucia, which provided medical assistance to over 4,000 St. Lucians.
This has been a landmark visit that attests to the continued commitment of the United States to St. Lucia and the Eastern Caribbean. During this visit, we've had over 400,000 patients receive care from Comfort medical teams, which includes 7 at 7:30 at the 2 medical sites, so there is still time to go to the... There's still time for people to go. We look forward to seeing the number of patients we had today. I had the opportunity to tour the medical site, and I got to meet a lot of people who were very excited about having just basic checkups, things that were bothering them, have people talk to them about what it is and to reaffirm what it might be or what they need to do, and to suggest certain kinds of treatment and or exercise.
This mission stop is part of the U.S. Sovereign Command's Enduring Promise Initiative. It reflects the United States' ongoing commitment to friendship, partnership, and solidarity with partner nations in the Caribbean, Central America, and South America. For the DBS News World, I am Sheffield Gillard.
From Sheffield for this report, which was filed on Monday evening. Joining NewsMakerLive, Dr. Sharon Belma George. Humanitarian injustice. What say you, ma'am?
During the visit of the USNS, we noted quite a bit of the reality of our health situation here in St. Lucia. Some of it we already knew because we are aware of the system and we are aware of some of the gaps that exist. Only about 20% of our population have health insurance. And also, given some of our secondary health services that may not always be readily available, we know the availability of services may not be as it should be. So seeing the overwhelming turnout of persons, and we got a wide range of persons accessing care, we were quite pleased for the response from the public, noting that persons came out. We saw a wide range of persons accessing care, from persons coming for a general checkup, for dental, for eye care, and also for surgeries.
You said that 20% of our St. Lucia population, they have health insurance. What happens to the other 80%?
The other 80% has to pay out of pocket. And given the salary scale, I mean, it's the reality when you look at the salary scale for some of our persons, when you have single mothers with children, having to provide food, to provide transportation, to provide education. A lot of the times, if they need to provide health care, it will be for their children. And a lot of the times, our adults end up staying behind when it comes to checking their health, checking their eyes, getting the necessary care. So the visit by the USNS Comfort, like we indicated, it is not a sustainable venture. It was only for 6 days, but it was an opportunity for persons who may not have had a recent checkup, needed to some persons just wanted to get a second opinion. We maximized the use of all of the services on board the USNS.
How do we change that particular situation in St. Lucia? Because it's basically a way of life, and it's been so for a very long time on the island. How do you ensure that there's equity in terms of, providing quality healthcare to as many people as possible? Because realistically, we're not talking about a large population.
Yes,
not even as large as Barbados in terms of the population, the size of the population.
Yes. The reality is the Ministry of Health, the government of St. Lucia, we have a responsibility to provide affordable, quality, accessible healthcare to the public, primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare. We know the limitations that exist within the government budget. So we have that responsibility to provide and ensure that there are certain services that can be accessible. But without universal health coverage, with a large proportion of the population still paying out of pocket, it is not as it should be presently. And we saw that based on the response. What we would like, the Ministry of Health, yes, the USNS Comfort visit was successful in terms of the persons coming to get care. But this is not what the Ministry of Health wants. What we would want is that we know we have a system where persons could find the services that they need are available locally and not feel the need to wait from 7 the night before to access care that they feel that they need.
But realistically, talking about universal health care, we don't expect such a system to be in place anytime soon, considering the fact that this is normally a vigorous, complicated exercise.
Presently, the Ministry of Finance, in collaboration with other ministries, are working on universal health coverage. So I think that will come out soon.
But do you expect a lot of haggling to take place, a lot of arguing as to which system is good, which one is effective, which one should be utilized, whether people should, in addition to having universal health care, be allowed to have their own personal health insurance?
Yeah, I think it's a complex process that requires intensive consultation, and there are certain realities that we need to face in St. Lucia. If you look at the models around the world with quality health services, healthcare is extremely very expensive. So it's critical, but it's also very expensive. So some level of sacrifice would have to be made to ensure quality health care.
Who should be making the sacrifice?
It should be everybody making the sacrifice. And as a nation, I think we need to prioritize healthcare a lot more.
And you're talking about consultation taking place. I think the Prime Minister made reference to this. Yes. But realistically, how long do you think that this will take?
Well, I'm hoping very soon.
Because conversation is not a good word in St. Lucia.
I'm I'm hoping that this is the year for health, and we are hopeful that quite a bit is going to happen very soon.
You'd have had a postmortem in the aftermath of this health mission.
Yes,
what
we
have you
did.
discovered in terms of the number of people who came forward and so on?
Yeah, well, this afternoon, our various teams, we met to debrief and to review and to discuss the 6-day mission by the USNS, as yesterday was our last day, our extra day of care. We were very pleased for the response that we received from the public, and we are grateful, and we want to thank the public for their patience during that time. We saw a total of 4,846 patients in the outpatient service. This is the services by the OKEU Hospital and the National Cultural Center. I'll give an idea of the breakdown. For adult medical services, we saw 1,665. For pediatric medical, it was 264. For dental, 756 patients. Optometry, 2,161 cases. On the ship, we did a total of 79 surgical procedures, and we did have over 100 surgical procedures scheduled. However, we missed about 3 days of surgery due to the sea swell. So it was a risk to get patients over because of the conditions of the sea. So we lost 3 days of surgical procedures. For surgery, we got a total of 21 patients for ophthalmology. For plastic surgery, 10. 2 patients requiring oral maxillofacial procedures. General surgery, 26. Pediatric surgery, 12. Orthopedics, 1. Urology, 6. Interventional radiology, 1. So we had a total of 79 patients having surgery. We did a total of 48 echocardiograms and about 40 CT scans on board the US Comfort.
But we easily could have had a lot more than the 4,846 people turning up, being provided services, at the clinics, because I'm sure more would have turned up.
Yes, that was one of the issues that we had problems with managing. The US Comfort, for each subsection, they would give us what their quota was, that is the number of persons that they could have seen safely on any one day. And we had to abide by those numbers, because you would understand some procedures take a longer time, like dental procedures take longer. So we had to use those numbers. And we had persons from the night before, when it was our teams came in from 4 a.m. in the morning, and by that time, we were way past the quota of what the persons who could access care. Up to 900, over 1,000 patients came in to seek health care. And that was the part of the mission which was difficult, because clearly we can't see so many people in any one day. We did not expect those numbers to turn up, and we had to get a way to try to manage the crowds. But in most of the cases, the crowds were manageable. We worked extensively with the other agencies, the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the Fire Service, Ministry of External Affairs. So through all of those collaborations, and we had very dedicated teams of officers at both of our sites. For National Cultural Center, the teams were there from 4 a.m. when they realized people were coming that early to try to get people in and settled and in order. And
I remember the one time you told me that during my discussion with you on Newspin, that as early as 9:30 the previous evening, people
yes,
turning
as early as 7:30.
And then people, I got the impression also that people are coming as early as
7:30 the night before to access care, to just ensure that they get in.
But that is very scary, and I mean, yes. not to make any comment in jest, but the fact, solutions like freeness. But the serious aspect of this is that if people are going to turn out on an evening at 7 o'clock, long before the period when the services will be provided, it says something that definitely people are craving that service.
Yes, and it showed that a lot of the clients, some of them were already diagnosed, wanted a second opinion, wanted a review. We had a lot of patients who needed care, and we saw it For dental, for example, we always had many more persons for dental who needed care. They needed to get cleanings, they needed to get fillings, they needed extractions. And we always maximize and beg to put a few more in, especially for adults, because within our community centers, we have 8 dental clinics and 6 dental surgeons. So clearly, and they work part-time, clearly this cannot support the entire country. And even within our program, we prioritize our children instead of adults. Adults for referral, that's how we do them. So we could see why, and dental care is expensive. So when we look at the financial situation in a lot of families, parents would not prioritize their own dental care when they need to. So we knew that there was a gap, we knew that that was a need. Also for eye care, this is one of the areas. We saw 2,161 persons accessing care for eye care, and it's a lot of persons who were just not seen. They knew they needed to go in, but the cost of eyeglasses now for a lot of people was just too much for their budget.
We had complaints about poor signage at the clinics. Some people are saying that it was disorganized. They came in early, but they were not given tickets and numbers, so that they could have seen the medical doctor early enough, considering the sacrifice that they made.
Yes, what we noted, because people were coming from the night before, it made it very difficult when our centers are closed at that time, as much as we had security there from 6 p.m. the night before. It made it very difficult to manage people coming in, and it would be on their word who came first and who came second. So when our team came in some areas where we were able to separate the different specialties, but there was a morning when it was just a mob outside. What our teams did, they allowed the more vulnerable groups to come in. The elderly, we saw persons as old as 94 years coming in from the night before out by a gate, and this was heart-wrenching, to see elderly persons waiting outside a gate to get care. So what they were able to do is to get the more vulnerable groups, like the elderly, persons on walkers or walking sticks, to ensure those persons get in, to get some level of, I don't want to say priority, but to make sure that they get in to get care.
We understand that the patients of some of the security personnel would have been tested as well?
Yes, and we understand, and we apologize for persons who did not get care. On any given day, we could not see everybody who turned up. And, we didn't like turning people away. What we tried to do the day before, we tried to put them on a list to ensure that the next day they could get care. And we were a little bit disappointed for the weekend because because Saturday and Sunday we anticipated higher numbers. We planned for a very early start and a later close. But the sea swells did not cooperate with us, and there was nothing we could have done. So on Saturday we actually started later. We started after 9. And on Sunday, we had to end up canceling our clinic because it was the sea was just too rough to allow the medical team to come on shore, and also they didn't think it was safe enough. And we supported them because at the end of the day, safety is a priority. We would not want any of our patients. We didn't want any negative incidents or anything happening. So we were fortunate to get the half day on the Tuesday to try to make up.
What's the response from the visiting medical officials? Were they caught off guard? Were they surprised based on
about
the outcome
of the clinics? It went quite well. The response, this is the first time that we're collaborating with the USNS, so it was a different type of mission to what we were used to. And it was a very good experience, very professional.
Were they shocked? Were they caught off guard? Were they surprised?
You mean working with St. Lucia?
Based on what they saw, the turnout, the response?
No, they were not, because they've worked in a lot of other countries, and every afternoon we would have a debrief from 4 o'clock with them. And they said that there's no country that has been able to deal with the overflow. There's a limit at which they can see, and after that they can't see anymore. So They said if St. Lucia gets the solution to get exactly 5 coming, please let them know, because it's something that they're used to for all of their missions and countries where they're visiting. Even on their second visit, even more persons come in, because now that a lot of our St. Lucians got the opportunity to get care from them, I'm sure if they were to come back, persons would want to return for another visit. So they get, I guess, more popular when they come back. So in all of the countries that they go to, the response is usually quite overwhelming.
When we continue discussion in just a moment, folks of the southern part of the island, they felt cheated. So we'll discuss that issue in just a moment with my guest, Dr. Sharon Belmar George, Senior Medical Officer for Health in the Ministry of Health. We'll also be taking your calls. You're watching NewsMaker Live on DBS Television. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching NewsMaker Live right here on DBS Television. Let's put a telephone number on screen so that you can call with your questions and comments for my guest, Dr. Sharon Belmar George of the Ministry of Health. The folks of the southern part of the island have been complaining. They feel left out because they had to travel from the south all the way to Castries, and that put them in a very disadvantageous position. Yes. What's your reason? What explanation you have for them? Okay, we have a call. Before that explanation, a call. Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you on the air?
Good night, Mr. Collier.
Hi, good evening to you.
Contribution to make.
Gwen?
I want to thank Dr. Belmar and the Ministry of Health for providing such a large cross-section of the St. Lucian population to much needed free medical care. Bravo.
Wow, thank you so much. I hope my team is watching. I think this is, we thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, wow, amazing stuff. Okay, so the question now, on behalf of the people in the southern part of the island.
When we were initially, in the initial discussions, when we were told that we were allowed 2 clinics, our first indication was the north and the south. But the USNS Comfort's, their policy is that the clinic cannot be more than 40 minutes away from where the ship is docked. So they indicated that because of the distance, it would not be possible for them to set up a clinic in the south. So this was not a decision of the Ministry of Health, but it was to facilitate the policy of the USNS.
Good evening. NewsMaker Live, on the air.
Hi. Good evening, team.
Good evening to you.
Good evening, Dr. Belmar.
Good evening.
I must compliment you and the government of St. Lucia for taking the initiative, for giving us such a beautiful program. We needed it. We accepted it and we made good use of it. I was there and I saw everything. I can vouch that. I saw you moving from point A to point B, and I was very satisfied, I must say to you, Dr. Delma, kudos to you and your lovely team, especially those nurses that was handling the group. I find you all did a very good job, and I want to ask you, when are they coming back next year?
I don't have any information on that for now, but they were quite happy working with us in St. Lucia, and they did indicate that they would be looking forward to returning to St. Lucia to provide care. They found our people very hospitable. We noted after care was given, a lot of our people prayed with them and prayed for them, and they were very grateful to the team after they received care. So,
very good.
We are hoping, for us in the health service, we hope our health system develops where we don't need the USNS comfort, but in the meantime, we welcome the opportunity for them to provide care to everyone who needs it.
Very good. Kudos to you all, guys. Good night.
Okay, good evening, Tim.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for calling. We await another call on the broadcast. This is NewsMaker Live on DBS Television. Once again, my guest, Dr. Sharon Belma George, Senior Medical Officer for Health in the Ministry of Health, and we are focusing on the recent visit of the USNS hospital ship. Okay, we lost that call. But we were looking at a particular issue, and was it that had to do with, I think, the services being provided in the south of the island?
Yes. So they indicated that based on their policy that it would be too far to set up a clinic in the south. So that was not possible. We even tried to see if we could have gotten as far as Ancillary or Dennery, but in getting a location that would have been big enough and suitable, because the team did come earlier on to do a walkthrough of possible sites. So that was the other issue, trying to get it as far south as possible.
The doubting Thomases, you think they're still out there in terms of people who believe that this was part of some kind of conspiracy?
I think, and I'm happy that our St. Lucians comfortable, and the level of patience that they showed while administering care. So for those of us working with them and seeing the administration of care and service during that period, we couldn't help but, feel feel warm towards them. So it was, it was a good opportunity for networking.
How did this impact you as a medical professional?
As a medical professional, what I want to see for healthcare in St. Lucia, I want for us to have the capacity to provide the care that I know we can give. We have a very good team of professionals on island. Clearly, the infrastructure is not what it should be to facilitate the provision of services that we want to do. So I want to see the development of healthcare where we can provide accessible, affordable, quality care to our persons. However, I'm very affected by those who cannot afford healthcare. So a big part of what I do is looking for those and strengthening those collaborations which would assist in the gaps where our system is not allowing us to do. And we have quite a few collaborations with the ministry and other organizations. This one is the first time we're doing it with the USNS. Later in October, we'll have the return of the Starkey Hearing Foundation. They come almost every year, and this is another very successful collaboration that we've had, where they review persons with hearing issues and they administer hearing aids. And these are hearing aids costing up to $2,000 US, and it's given free of charge with free maintenance, aftercare. Everything is done free of charge. So this is another very good collaboration that's coming up.
We have another call. Good evening to you, NewsMakerLive, you're on the air.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, caller.
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Belma.
Good evening.
I want to say bravo to you all and your team.
Thank you.
I'm one of the patients that went on the boat for surgery. And I'm right there, I'm recovering, I'm watching the program, and I want to say bravo to you all.
How was your experience on the boat, if I may ask?
Well, it was okay, it was first class service. I can say I enjoy every bit of it, and we end up making friends with some of the doctors and nurses, and everything was first class. I think the nurses in St. Lucia, I can say well they did a very good work. I can say praise God for everything. Everything went well, and I'm quite satisfied with what I received from them.
How long was your stay on the ship?
I went on Tuesday afternoon and I left on Saturday morning. This is on Friday.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I'm there, I'm recovering, it's okay for now.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'm glad to hear.
Yeah.
That must have been a great experience for him on that ship between Thursday and Saturday.
Yes.
I think that what people... All right, we have another call. Good evening to you, NewsMakerLive, you're on the air.
Hey, too much, sir. Good night.
Okay, so good evening to you, sir.
Team, I'd like to ask Dr. Belma, did our health personnel work alongside these crew members from the ship there, the doctors and whatnot? And because it had been an opportune time for us to maybe learn something new, for the professionals here to learn something new, in that we are about to commission the OKEU hospital and the St. Jude's Hospital, and that we really saw how they work professionally, and that we can, when these two hospitals are open, we can see that kind of treatment meted out to patients and so on. I'm really hoping that out of all of it, that our health personnel were able to gain something, learn something, so that that can be reflected when these two hospitals are commissioned.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I think that's a very good question. Our surgical teams were on board working with the USNS team, and we did have training opportunities. We had an exchange program with the medical teams and also with the nurses. Some of our nurses went over on the ship to work with them and to learn. And some of the nurses from the ship came over to both Victoria Hospital and the OKEU hospital as well. The exchange program was they visited our renal unit as well. And there was also an opportunity for collaboration with our environmental health department, because they do have an environmental health unit. So they worked alongside them. They reviewed our entomology department and worked with our officers. While here, apart from clinical services, there was quite a bit of community engagement. They worked with the Holy Family Children's Home, the Comfort-Based Senior Citizens Home, the Babano School, the Entrepot School. There were also activities at the Grizzly Human Resource Center, and there was a Red Cross project in Oleo Dennery as well. I think that one was a tree planting project. So there was quite a bit of community engagement. And as you noticed, the band entertained our patients while they were waiting, and there was also some performances by the band on the weekend as well.
Once again, we continue to take your calls. We're looking at the just concluded health mission, a postmortem of sorts taking place on this broadcast this evening with my guest, Dr. Sharon Belma-George. Good evening. NewsMakerLive, you're on the air. Hello. Hello, good evening to you, caller. Good evening to you. Go ahead with your contribution, caller. Okay, we're not hearing the caller too clearly. Maybe it has something to do with her phone. Okay, we lost that caller. But please continue to call the broadcast with your comments and your questions for my guest. Once again, Dr. Sharon Belma-George of the Ministry of Health. The challenge of maintaining that standard by our local health professionals. What do you think? How do you think this will play out? And saving those same people who would have received that level of service, you know, from the various clinics and also on that ship.
Well, service delivery is one of the things that we emphasize when it comes to healthcare. And we are hoping that the visit, the experience for those who went on board the ship, for those who worked alongside, because at both of the sites, we had some of our senior house officers, our district medical officers, we had some of our nurses as well. So we're hoping that that positive experience could help to strengthen what we already do here in St. Lucia within our health system.
Now, somebody did ask a question, so let me pose it again. Are there any efforts being made to ensure that the ship returns to the island, if not next year, at least the following year, sometime in the future? Is there a possibility that this can happen?
There is a possibility because the suggestion has already been made about them coming back. So I think it's just a matter of formalizing it and indicating if it's in 2 years or if it's in 3 years. So I think it is quite possible for them to come back to provide care to us.
And the visit, how has this impacted the image of medical professionals in St. Lucia?
I'm not sure if it impacted the image of medical. I think in one sense, the expectations of health professionals for persons who don't know otherwise may be even greater, because when we listen to a lot of the testimonials, because the press came in to interview patients who had been seen by the USNS team, and every single review was positive, and some of the feedback they said that they wish that every time they would get health care that it would be of that quality. And we as well from the Ministry of Health, this is what we want. We would want what is best for the patient, that they be cared for, that their needs would be met, because with health care, the patient has a right to know if they're diagnosed of something and if they're given medication, as much information should be given to them as possible during the visit. So I think the expectations to healthcare providers will be a lot higher.
Has this impacted the morale of health professionals who participated in this program, and in what way?
Definitely. I think our staff members who worked alongside them, they were very, very impressed. And unfortunately, we did organize some tours to the ship for our healthcare professionals. Those were able to be done on Friday, but Saturday and Sunday it was not possible. But for those of us who got the opportunity to go on the ship and to see the level of expertise that exists, you know, the equipment, and it was just amazing you know, to see what the capacity of the ship. I mean, I was so envious when I went on, you know. It was almost like, you know, if you could get just a little bit of it, you know.
How do we compare based on our equipment? For example, at the OKEU compared to what's on the ship?
Well, I think at the OKEU, it's a good comparison because the OKEU is built on the European standards. So definitely for our population, it would meet the needs because we have a CT scan there. But when I looked at the capacity in terms of ICU beds, admission beds, operating theaters, probably the capacity there is even greater than the entire region combined.
Oh.
You know, and when I looked at the numbers and I looked at the equipment, it's probably more than the region.
And just listening to the testimony of the gentleman who said that surgery was performed on him on the ship. You know, just visioning this, from his perspective, I'm sure he was very comfortable in that environment, as if he was in a hotel. And I imagine that has an impact on patients in terms of how quickly they convalesce. We have a call. Good evening, NewsMakerLive, you're on the air. Hello? Okay. So how quickly they convalesce can have, depending on the environment in which they are receiving treatment, that could impact them.
Yes, the patients, our patients all reported that the environment was quite warm. They were monitored frequently. There was pain management. They were well fed. We heard a lot of the food. Yes, they were very impressive, the food.
And not many people like to eat at hospitals.
Yeah. One of the gentlemen, one of the men who went there, he said he thought he was in a hotel. Wow. So, you know, it's good that you could go there and not just think of your surgery or your procedure, but, you know, you could relax a little bit, and, you know, there were activities there for them on the ship. So we were quite pleased.
So you guys have your work cut out for you.
Well, even without the ship, we have an obligation to provide quality health care.
What kind of demands can you all make on the authorities and the government in terms of increasing its budget to ensure that, you know, at least we improve the quality of the service that are being provided at our health institutions?
Well, this is a requirement we make every year through our new initiatives. From primary care to secondary care, we use the population number, we use the morbidity mortality data, and we stress the importance of primary care, strengthening primary care services, that is preventative care, where persons can come, that even if you feel well, you go to get a regular check. And one of the things which we noted at our debriefing, there's definitely a need for us to indicate to the public a lot of the services that are available and close to where they live. Because we have a network of 35 wellness centers. In every community, there's a wellness center where persons can come in, get their blood pressure checked, get their blood sugar checked, you know, preventative measures such as to prevent cervical cancer, get your pap smears. The regular reviews can be done in close proximity.
How are people impacted, therefore, when from time to time you have certain wellness centers closing because they have to be rehabilitated?
Well, the Ministry of Health, through the Smart Hospital initiative, where we are upgrading, and we are in the process of doing that now, we've had to close some of our wellness centers in an effort to improve the infrastructure of the service. And with that, it means putting in extra water tanks, doing refurbishment, which is well needed. So what we've tried to do is to channel the patients to the next available wellness center, and we ask for persons' patience because it is for the betterment of the service and for the center in the long run. We know we've been getting some complaints, but it is for the improvement of the service long term.
Once again, you're watching NewsMakerLive with my guest, Dr. Sharon Belma-George, Senior Medical Officer of Health, Ministry of Health. We have just about 5 minutes left on the program, so if you care to, we can take one last call. We are at this time reviewing the services that were provided by the medical professionals from the USNS Comfort. They left St. Lucia yesterday, and many people are hoping that they will return in the not too distant future. Good evening, you're on the air.
Yes, Tim, just a quick question. Dr. Belma, what is the most prevalent disease or ailment we have in St. Lucia? And are we focusing on it in order to curtail it or whatnot? Because I'm sure you would appreciate that there are certain levels of ailments. You have diabetes, you have this, you have that, and people should be informed of these things. As you said, you could go to the wellness centers and find out and do your checks and so on. But I find more information is needed. Look, this is the area that we have more ailments, diabetes,
yes,
high blood pressure, and so on. What are the statistics like? Thanks.
Our biggest issue for us in St. Lucia is non-communicable diseases.
Is the caller still on? Because I'm not hearing him. Is the caller still on?
Well, he just ended.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for calling, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
our biggest issue in St. Lucia is non-communicable diseases. That is diabetes and high blood pressure, and the complications of those two, leading to strokes, heart disease. And those diseases are lifestyle diseases. They're preventable. That is, if we eat healthy, proper exercise, reduce stress, these are diseases that can be prevented. So this is where it's important for persons to ensure that from as early as possible they eat healthy, local foods, and the importance of exercise as well to reduce the impact of that. And we're seeing increases in diabetes and high blood pressure. We're getting patients diagnosed a lot earlier. We're seeing the effects of obesity. Childhood obesity has become a serious problem for us to manage, and the effects of those diseases. So this is the single most important.
Before your final comments, can you go through the stats again, the number of people who would have benefited from this mission?
This mission? Okay, for the USNS mission, we saw a total of 4,846 patients in our outpatient services. That's the services at the National Cultural Center and the OKEU Hospital. We noted a total of 79 surgical procedures. We were given 48 echocardiograms, and about 40 CT scans were done during the 6-day mission.
Final comments from you, Doc? I'd like to, before I give you the opportunity to make your final comments, thank you as well for cooperating with me. Your many calls I made, the many calls I made to you, so that you could have provided with some kind of report to my audience on Newspin on the day-to-day operations of the medical personnel from the USNS Comfort. Final comments from you now.
I want to first of all thank our local agencies, the level of leadership from the Ministry of External Affairs, the coordinating agencies that worked with the Ministry of Health, that is Fire Service, Police, and all of the other agencies that worked closely with us to ensure we were able to put this all together. The Ministry of Health officers, our officers worked tirelessly from the planning to on the ground during the 6-day mission, and a lot of sacrifice from the parents. With some of our officers with small children left their homes from 4 in the morning to come to the site to try to triage and put persons in order. So it was a lot of sacrifice by the entire team. We worked both Saturday and Sunday during the period. So I'm very grateful for the level of cooperation and the hard work that was put in. I also want to say that a big thank you to the USNS team for the opportunity for St. Lucia to provide this extra care to our people. We know it is not a sustainable way, and in no way is it meant to replace the services that we have an obligation to give to the public. I just want to remind the public as well that we have local services for those who did not get the opportunity to access care. We have services within our primary care institutions that are open. So please, and everyone who was seen, everybody was given a referral, so please ensure you do the necessary follow-up. We've all referred the patients to either wellness centers, the hospital, or the private physician. So we're hoping that they do not see it as a one-off for their checkup or for their general services, but they continue monitoring their health. It's not a one-time thing, it's continuous.
Dr. Sharon Belma-George, Senior Medical Officer in the Ministry of Health, thank you so much for being my guest on this evening's NewsMaker Live.
Thank you.
And to you, thank you so much for watching the broadcast and contributing via your calls. If it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live. Time now for the clip that peaked. Once again, thank you so much for watching this evening's NewsMaker Live. My name is Timothy Polion. Please do not forget to join me tomorrow afternoon between 12:30 and 2 o'clock on Real FM 91.3 North and 91.5 South for Newspin. Good night, and see you next time.